guide via your device. Now, to be fair, it will probably take half the trip to download the app, and by the time the GPS kicks in, you would have already gotten off the boat. Alright, but that's what they supply you with. Now, we do seem to get better feedback on these boats when we do a live commentary. But I'm not going to talk to myself. I'll do enough of that indoors with my wife and kids. A show of hands if that is something you would like me to do along the way. Okay, quite a few people, but that's good. Okay, I will try. Like I say, we're not guides, we're not commentators, we are just a crew. So don't expect miracles, okay? And if I do make any mistakes, then please feel free to keep it to yourself. Now, I will try to speak slowly and clearly, and then anyone that doesn't have English as a first language can hopefully take something from it. Is everyone happy with that? Okay. I will start with the building to our right. Ahead of us, the Houses of Parliament. Now, the official name for the building is the New Royal Palace at Westminster. It is home to the British government. Inside the building, it does contain the House of Lords and the House of Commons. But it is a royal palace. It's owned by the King. He lets Parliament sit here. There has been a palace on that site for nearly 1,000 years. There has been a palace on this site for nearly 1,000 years, but the building you see today, that's only 164 years old. Now, the building that stood here before this, it was made of wood, and it stood here for 800 years, and it's the old wooden Parliament that Guy Fawkes tried to blow up in 1605.
Guy Fawkes did.
Now, where Guy Fawkes failed, two drunken members of the House of Lords succeeded. They accidentally burned, and Charles Barry. It took 25 years to build. There is over 1,100 rooms inside this building. 34 of those rooms are drinking bars where there's no licensing laws and they don't pay tax on their alcohol. Now, I know it's unusual for members of Parliament to have a privilege, right, but that is one thing that they do seem to allow themselves. Now, the main feature of the building is, of course, the clock tower. Everybody calls it Big Ben, but as most of you are aware, Big Ben is just a bell inside this tower, and it will chime on the hour and the hour only. It is a huge bell. It weighs 13.5 tons, and the bell is slightly cracked, just like many of the people that work inside that building. Now, to the right, we have where we've just come from, the London Eye, built for British Airways in the year 2000. It stands 450 feet tall. It holds 800 people in 32 glass capsules. It will take 30 minutes for one round turn. Now, on a very clear day, you can see as far as Windsor Castle, which is about 25 miles away. The problem is we don't get too many clear days here in London. When it first opened, it used to cost £5 for a trip on the London Eye. Today, it's a minimum of £30. It's no longer owned by British Airways, it's owned by Merlin, the entertainment group. The monument to the left with the golden eagle on the top, that's the Royal Air Force Memorial, built to commemorate all the men and women who lost their lives throughout the First and Second World Wars.
I told you, dude.
The golden eagle on the top is made from captured enemy artillery. And the building with the green roof behind it, that's the Ministry of Defence, the headquarters for Army, the Navy and the Royal Air Force. Now just behind the MOD building is COVID's favourite nightclub, number 10 Downing Street. And then just along from that, the Gothic style building, Whitehall called Mansions, prime 11 o'clock every day till the end of this month, you have the changing of the King's Guards.
Yo, why'd you retract the message?
And then going to pass beneath the Charing Cross Railway Bridge, it feeds the station to the left. Now for those on the top deck, as we go under the bridge, if you do feel any water dripping on your head, do not be alarmed. The trains just have to empty their toilets before they enter the station.
London in here.
Now through the bridge and to the right we have Royal Festival Hall. It's the last remaining building from the Festival of Great Britain that was held here back in 1951. Now the acoustics in the building, they are said to be some of the finest in the world. Now the first artist to perform here was Jimi Hendrix. You've also had Liza Minnelli, Elton John, Shirley Bassey, Pavarotti, Michael Jackson, and even old Blue Eyes himself, Frank Sinatra. They have all performed here to our right.
I think it's good, sure.
To the left, the oldest thing we're going to pass on our trip is that stone obelisk on the embankment wall, Cleopatra's Needle. It was carved out in Egypt 3,500 years ago, given to the British by the Egyptians. Well, I say given, we stole it. After Admiral Lord Nelson defeated Napoleon at the Battle of the River Nile. It has a twin, and its twin stands in Central Park, New York. The bridge ahead of us, Waterloo Road Bridge. This is known as the Ladies' Bridge, built by women during the Second World War. Now the bridge is built with a lady's touch, a very expensive self-cleaning Portland stone. So when it rains, this bridge receives a thorough wash. Look on the underside of the bridge, you'll see how dirty it is compared to the outside, where it still looks as good as new. Not only was this bridge built during a war, you can see when we come through, look back up at the bridge, you'll see bullet holes in the bridge where the ladies made under enemy fire while it was under construction. And not only was it built during a war, it's the only bridge to be built on time and under budget. So well done to the ladies.
Kappa.
Now the view from this bridge at sunset, when you look from the bridge, inspired the Kinks to write the song Waterloo Sunset. And to the right, the concrete building with the illuminated writing. Believe it or not, that is our Royal National Theatre. Voted one of the ugliest buildings on the banks of the River Thames. Now, King Charles, back when he was Prince Charles, he commented on the building saying it was the ugliest thing that he has ever seen. Now, you've heard the expression, never judge a book by its cover, and that certainly applies to this building, because inside of the building are 3 of the finest theatres, the largest being the 1,500-seater Olivier Theatre, and this was named after the actor and the founder of the theatre, Sir Laurence Olivier. Now to the left, the white vessel with the yellow funnel, that's the Wellington, a former New Zealand sloop for the Royal Navy. Permanently moored on the river today as a floating bar and restaurant. You can hire this out, it's out for private hires. But just behind it, there's a stone archway, that's Temple Arch. And it's a boundary line between 2 cities. It denotes we are now leaving the city of Westminster and you are entering the city of London, which is one of the smallest capital cities in the world, measuring just 1 square mile. Now, when we talk about London today, in general, you are talking about a 32 surrounding miles. But originally, Londinium, that's what the Romans called it, is 1 square mile. To the right, we have the red brick building, the Oxo building. It's here that the small little beef stock cube that we use on our Sunday roast, old Mum's Granary. This is where it used to be manufactured. After the war, the building fell into disrepair. Like most things on the Thames today, this has now been turned into unaffordable housing. You've got a small row of shops at the bottom. There's 48 flats in the middle. You've got the glass viewing gallery, that's free to go up there. And then you have the Harvey Nichols restaurant. To our left, you'll see the white building with the green sloping roof. The old City of London School for Boys. A very famous school here in London where many of our elder statesmen have been educated. In between the 5 arched windows, look right at the top, there are 4 statues. And those statues are Francis Bacon, John Milton, Sir Isaac Newton, and William Shakespeare.
He's just doing his job.
Of this country's most famous scholars. No longer used as a school today, it's used to teach people who are
Of course.
and above the bridge, a lovely view of the Golden Cross of St. Paul's Cathedral,
It does.
designed by the famous architect.
Ah, shit. Lots of wind.
This took 35 years to build. 12 years of construction
So windy,
was
Jacob
the
said.
dome itself. And the dome is the second largest unsupported cathedral dome.
I don't
The
mind.
largest is of course on St. Peter's as well. Now St. Paul stands 365 feet tall. The foundations are 3 feet deep. And buried in the crypt are some of this country's most famous national heroes. You have Admiral Lord Nelson, the Iron Duke, the Duke of Wellington, Sir Alexander Fleming, and the architect himself, Sir Christopher Wren. Now, if you haven't been in, I do recommend doing some more photos. It is worth it. It's £25. Now you can go visit the crypt, and then if you're feeling very, very energetic, because there are no lifts or escalators in the building. So once you visit the crypt, you can climb the 528 steps to that viewing platform that's on top of the dome, where you do get views that are just as good as the London Eye. To the right, the brown brick building with the tall chimney, the old Bankside Power Station. That today has been turned into the Tate Gallery for modern art, viewing modern art exhibitions. Now this is a free art gallery to enter. But in my own personal opinion, when you see modern art, you'll know why that is free to enter. Now connecting the 2 attractions, we do have the Millennium Footbridge, a complete waste of time, money and effort, costing at the time £15 million. Now it was opened on the 1st of June in the year 2000, but 3 hours later it had to be closed because it was condemned unsafe. Once a certain amount of people walked across the bridge, it started to wobble, taking the nickname as the Wibbly Wobbly Bridge. It closed for 18 months, cost a further £5 million to stabilise the bridge, but in a live interview they asked Norman Foster what was wrong, and he replied nothing. It was the way people walk here in London. And to the right, the white circular building with the wooden beams and thatched roof. Sam Wanamaker's replica of William Shakespeare's Globe Playhouse Theatre. It was his dream to produce a replica, and this took 20 years to get the project underway. Now sadly, he never saw the building complete, but it was eventually completed by his daughter, the actress Zoe Wanamaker. It opened in 1997, and it is used in the traditional way, just as it would have been during the days of Shakespeare. So it has no lighting, there's no amplification, there's no sound effects. If it rains, you can get wet because it's an open-aired theatre, just like the original. Now you can watch plays from April the 23rd every year. It opens on the day of Shakespeare's birthday and runs every day until the end of September. And tickets are as little as £5, and that's for the standing area. Through the bridge and to the right, in the corner of the next bridge, is a very famous Thameside pub. It's called the Anchor at Bankside. If you've got a camera, zoom in on the front of the pub. You'll see the lower red window frame with a sign above it that says the Anchor. Zoom in on that because in small lettering in the corner it says established in 1615. So this little pub is over 400 years old. And to use that pub, Samuel Pepys, the diarist, Dr. Johnson, William Shakespeare and me. It is a very, very nice pub, folks. Highly recommended. Now for the kids on board, coming up off the right, the building, you can see the stern of the pirate. A replica of Sir Francis Drake's ship, the Golden Hind, built in 1971 in Appledore in Dorf, Devon. It is an exact replica. It even took the same course that Sir Francis Drake took when he became the first Englishman to circumnavigate the globe. It's done more miles than the original. It's sailed around the world twice. And while she's moored here, she's normally open to the public, but as you can see, she's going under some renovation. Now the bridge ahead of us, everybody knows this bridge. It's the world famous London Bridge. Now the bridge, there has been several bridges to span the Thames at this point. The first ever London Bridge was built by the Romans in 43 AD. The most famous London Bridge is the one that fell down, and that gave rise to the nursery rhyme, London Bridge is falling down. Now the previous bridge to this, it was sinking into the mud, and it was bought by Robert McCulloch for £1 million in 1968. The bridge was taken down, shipped out to America, to Arizona, where it was re-erected in Lake Amazon over the Colorado River. It still stands there today as a tourist attraction. And to the right, that tall glass building, that's the Shard of London Bridge, the tallest building in the country, and it only stands 1,000 feet tall. There are 82 floors in the Shard. It's offices, shops, bars, restaurants. It's got a 5-star hotel. It has a viewing platform called The View on the 72nd floor. That's about £29 to go up there. And then the rest of it is made up of luxury apartments. The cheapest apartment is £30 million. Very, very expensive. This building that gets wider as it gets taller, that's number 20 Fenchurch Street. The building with more up top. Look right at the top of the building, you can see a couple of people walking around. That's the largest indoor roof garden, and that's free to go up there. All you have to do is just book it online. You should be able to book in for today. If not, 10% of their admissions are walk-ins, so you can turn up as long as you have identification. There's a new viewing platform that's just recently been built. The tall building in the background there, that's 22 Horizon. I don't know what they've called their viewing platform yet, but their viewing platform is higher than the Shard, but that's free as well. I think that you do have to book online. The large warship to the right, HMS Belfast, built in Belfast in 1938 and launched in 1939. She saw action throughout the Second World War and was involved in chasing, shelling and sinking of the German ship, the Shark. She fired the opening shots on D-Day, June the 6th, 1944, and she last fired her gun anchor in 1952 as a flagship for the United Nations and the Korean War campaign. She's permanently moored here now as a floating extension for the Imperial Museum. Now there's our next stop to the left. We're just going to take you past the pier as close as we can to Tower Bridge. Well, we'll show you the Tower of London and Tower Bridge, and when it is safe to do so, we will turn the vessel. But before we do that, to your left we have the Tower of London, one of London's most visited tourist attractions. This started to be built in 1078, and that was in the reign of William the Conqueror. Now the four turrets in the middle, that's the oldest part. It's called the Norman's Keep, or the White Tower. Now in its time, this building, it has been various things. It's been a royal mint, a royal observatory, a royal palace. It's been a prison, even a zoo, but more commonly known as a place of imprisonment, torture and execution. It is now home to the crown jewels, which are guarded by the king's beefeaters, or buffetiers, a French word that roughly translates to mean servant to the crown. Now, the next bridge ahead of us is Tower Bridge, the gateway to London. Opened on the 30th of June, 1894. Designed by Sir John Wolfe Barry, and it was built in the Gothic style to blend in with its surroundings, the Tower of London. Tower Bridge is the only bridge of its kind, being a twin steel suspension of bascule bridge. The bascules, which are those centre parts, those can be raised like a double-sided drawbridge to let larger ships in and out of the upper hall of London. They have raised on numerous occasions. The record opening is 54 times in one day. On average, it would take 35 times a day this bridge would be raised. You won't ever get near them numbers today, because in those days, when it was like 35 to 50 times a day, river traffic took priority over road traffic. It's still the same, but to help with the road traffic, you can obviously, when the bridge was up and down all the time, the congestion around here was an absolute nightmare. So now, because how busy the roads are, we have to have half an hour between each bridge lift to ease the congestion. That's how long it can take to clear. Now, would anyone like to see the bridge open up? Yes? Have you got your phone? YouTube, there's loads on now. Now, if you are about today, then you are in luck, okay? The bridge is due to open 6 times today. The first opening is at 1 o'clock this afternoon. okay? And it will open 6 more times between 1 o'clock and then at 7:30, I think, is the last opening. So you've got about 6 openings to look. If you want the exact times, type into your search engine Tower Bridge lifts, and it will give you all the lift times for the whole year. They have to make it public knowledge so the emergency services know to avoid the bridge when it is being raised. But 1 o'clock is the first opening this afternoon. Now, there is one later on this evening. I do believe it might be 10 o'clock, I might be wrong. Now, if that is the case, that's the one I would recommend watching, because Tower Bridge is all lit up, and that's the best time to see the bridge at night. Okay, all the others that are during the day are a little bit too early before it's all lit up, but that will be my recommendation. But like I say, there's 6 openings today, so you've got plenty of opportunity to watch the bridge being opened. And they are for all old Thames sailing barges, which will be quite a sight as well. Now folks, this is our next stop, Tower Pier. So if you have tickets for Tower Pier, single or return, this is where you must leave us, okay? If you have bus tickets, you also leave us here. You now have to rejoin your bus route, and the buses are in front of the Tower of London. So just walk up to the main road. You can see all the people there. Just walk up to that main road, and then in front of the tower on the right is all the bus stops, okay? And that's where you pick your next route up to take you back to where you want to go. If you have Greenwich tickets, stay on board. That's our next stop. But to give you an idea of timing, because some people buy 24-hour tickets, it's half an hour to Greenwich. We stay there for half an hour, and then it's half an hour trip back here. So it's a minimum to get back to here, 1 hour and 30 minutes. 2 hours before we are back at Westminster. So for those with Greenwich tickets, if you haven't got time, now is your only opportunity to get off. If anyone wishes to return straight back to Westminster, you can get off here, go to boarding point A, and the boats from there will take you back to Westminster. They are every 40 minutes throughout the day. See the agent on the pier, and they will give you all the guaranteed times of the returning boats. You can get off, have a look round and catch a later boat, so you don't have to go back straight away. Now just stay in your seats for me till we are safely moored alongside. You will be told when it is safe to leave, and as you leave the boat, just make sure you take all personal belongings. Now, a few words about the commentaries. We said at the start, we're not guides, we're not commentators, we are just a crew. The company supply you with the app, but instead of you sitting here in silence, we do prefer to give a live commentary. We do get much better feedback from it. We don't get paid for this, we don't receive any training, but what we do have is an old tradition. By the exit, as you leave, is the old ship bucket. If you'd like to stick a couple of bob in the old bucket, you are more than welcome. Of course, if you don't know what a couple of bob is, don't worry. We take 5, 10, 20, 50 pound notes, euros, dollars, we take it all, alright? We also know not everybody has cash in today's society. I do have a card reader if you wish to do that as well, alright? You're under no obligation, okay? It's purely voluntary. But remember one important thing. I'm the person that helps you off this boat, alright? Now thanks for listening. Hopefully you've all enjoyed yourself, and have a pleasant remainder to your day here at the Tower. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sun's come out. Lovely day. It's picture perfect.
I'd say.
I guess I'll stop it now.